Okay, let's get this started with. Let's talk about Boys Season 3, Episode 4. And I do say let's get started with this, but honestly speaking, I really have to say where to start from, which is the title of the slide, where to start. And honestly, because the first three episodes were fine, already so much happened in the first three episodes, but this time it just took one episode to totally blow my mind away with everything that happened, and mainly due to the number of turning points that existed in this episode, which I'm going to talk about. So let's talk about it. First, I just wanted to touch up on this scene. Just want to share my quick thought about the scene where Huey tried to stand up against Homelander, and I just want to say I was as necessary it was for Huey. Huey had all the right reasons to do that, and Starlight was also completely right to support him to in terms to support him in standing up against Homelander. I have to say I was a bit frightened for them, mainly because the character they were standing up against, Homelander, the most powerful character, and neither of them were powerful enough to beat him. And for that reason, I was a bit scared. But nonetheless, I just felt that was a pretty epic scene for what it was. And I have to say, fortunately, Homelander was pretty calm, or else, I think they both might have been like, blown off by him, not blown off, or should I say, uh, heat visioned or laser beamed by him with his heat vision. Basically, would have been killed by him. But anyways, that's just a quick thought. But another character whose relationship I wanted to talk about with Homelander was Stan Edgar, because his character, first of all, I have to say, what a character. I mean, I didn't expect him to be this significant in season three when he hardly even appeared in season one. And now he's all of a sudden such a significant character. He's probably like the only character who intimidates Homelander and is probably a major threat to Homelander. Otherwise, no other character is. And that explains why Homelander had to do what he had to do, which I'll talk about in the next slide. But let's just talk about Stan Edgar a bit more. I mean, basically, he's like a character who has no superpowers, but he still has Homelander in his fists. It just makes me think about the other characters. The same actor, Giancarlo Esposito has played those characters being Gus Fring and Moff Gideon from Breaking Bad and The Mandalorian. All these three characters have been like stoic and calm characters, but have had everything under control the whole time. Same way, Stan Edgar has also had Homelander under control the whole time until Homelander did what he had to do, which was using Victoria Newman's help to arrest Stan Edgar, making him in charge of Vought now and the most powerful, being on Earth now. He has no one to fear of, and I have to say, feel say whether I'm wrong or not, or say whatever you want, but I have to say I'm actually quite excited to see the direction Homelander takes Vought towards now that he is treating Vought like a superhero company more than a pharmaceutical company. He said it himself, this is a superhero company, and okay, let's see, how he actually runs the company now that he's technically the CEO of Vought. So looking forward to that. I have to say that. Now let's talk about Maeve being brave. As corny as it may sound, I seriously wanted to talk about her secretly, preparing to face off against Homelander. There's a scene where she was, practicing with her sword until Starlight shows up. As much as it scares me, it also excites me at the same time to see how she faces off against Homelander. Hopefully, she puts up a good fight against him. Probably, towards the end of the season or in season four. But then, nonetheless, sooner or later, pretty sure they're gonna fight. Basically, like Wonder Woman versus Superman, more or less. But Starlight put it perfectly. What which was she's basically risking her life. I mean, that's not exactly what she said, but that's what she was like hinting towards. She's putting her life at stake, risking her life. Basically, she's just heading towards death by facing off against Homelander. And I have to say, not only does it scare me for me, but for any character who tries to go against Homelander, except for a few characters. Which brings me to my next slide, that is Butcher and the boys. Of course, these characters have always been determined to take him down, and Vought in general, which is why let's talk about them a bit more, and more particularly, let's talk about Russia, and what all they experience in Russia. Let's first start off by talking about that action sequence, which was quite dope. But as usual, this show being a very violent and gory show, of course, the action sequence had to be brutal and a pretty hilarious sequence, mainly because Kimiko takes down, all those goons using adult toys, which was very creative. I mean, the way, she uses those adult toys to take them down was, I mean, she uses them in a quite creative manner, if you were to ask me. Just had to say that. But let's talk about a more serious scene, which honestly I found it to be very powerful, which was the scene between Huey and Butcher. I just wanted to talk about it because I found the dialogues to be well written. The dialogues being, exchanged between these two characters, I felt like they were beautifully written. So basically, the scene was about Huey trying to take the compound V, and then Butcher tries to explain, how it's more of a poison than it's a blessing, and how he really deserves better. I mean, that's not exactly what he said, but basically, he said something similar to this, if I'm not wrong. But when he says, I believe he said he doesn't deserve any of this, instead of he deserves better. But once he tells Huey that he doesn't deserve any of this, it got me thinking about how far Huey has come as a character, and how truly of a good person has he been throughout the series. I won't talk too much about it, but it certainly got me thinking about that. I just wanted to say that, make that clear. And I'm pretty sure also this scene certainly showed how much how much Butcher cares for Huey, and how he truly feels about taking in the compound V. He doesn't really feel powerful, but he feels like it's just a necessity for him, more than something he's doing for fun. So basically, he's trying to say he has to take it more than he wants to, and that's the way we know that he truly doesn't feel good about taking in a compound V. He has to, so that he can face off against those powerful soups such as gunpowder. And for all these reasons, I have to say I truly love this scene. Now, of course, as we know, like towards the end of the episode, there are two heartbreaking scenes. The first heartbreaking scene being Soldier Boy attacking Kimiko, which certainly made it emotional to watch Frenchie's reaction when she wasn't healing. Of course, when his love's life was at stake. Of course, his reaction was perfectly valid, and certainly made the audience emotional. At least made me quite emotional. And then there's also trying to resign, which made me curious to know, what would the boys be like? I mean, where would that leave the boys at if one of the core character, leaves the boys? So it got me thinking about that. And then you also have Huey on the other hand, being a disappointment. I mean, come on, Huey, why did you do that? I mean, sure, he took the compound. He was certainly, feeling good about it, especially when Kimiko's life was at stake in the backseat. And Huey, on the other hand, was enjoying himself. Really, wasn't really, Huey. He certainly deserved better, but he chose not to, get those things that he get those better things that he deserved. Instead, he chose to take the compound V and disappoint everyone in the team. And Huey needs to do better. I'll just say that. Now, hopefully, Kimiko recovers. Of course, I won't go without saying that she has to, because she's one of the founding members of the boys. And, the boys. I mean, she's like one of the most powerful characters. They need her for her powers, and of course, her character is also a pretty good character, even though she has been mute for throughout the series. I just want to see more of her with Frenchie, and where they go towards the end of this season. Now, of course, the second scene being Supersonic's death. I mean, as heartbreaking it was also that uncomfortable to watch. I mean, I said bit uncomfortable to watch, but probably, bit more than a bit uncomfortable to watch. Just looking at the scene, where, he's dead and Homelander is showing that to Starlight. And that's why, she has tears coming out from her eyes. And feel free to disagree, maybe because you might have seen something more gory or gruesome, or not just like in the series, but like in other series as well. But as for this series, I thought this was probably the most gruesome death shown on screen throughout the series. I mean, probably because I haven't seen something this gory in a while. That's why I feel like that. Tell me if there was anything more gory than this, or more gruesome than this in the first or second season. I'll be ready to listen to you. But I had to say, I honestly couldn't imagine what it would have been like to see, Homelander killing him. It's hard to imagine, probably because it's probably even more uncomfortable to imagine, Homelander. Imagine the whole process of Homelander, killing Supersonic, more than watching his death itself. And also got me thinking of A Train as well. and how he basically just threw both him and Starlight under the bus by exposing their plan to Homelander, and that certainly costed the life of Supersonic. So hopefully A-Train pays the price for that in the later episodes, which we will find out sooner or later. And that's all I had for this review. Tell me what you thought about this episode. Certainly, a lot happened in this one episode, and there are like four more episodes to come out. Let's see what more happens. And as usual, here's a reference. And until next time, see you next time.